Evening peeps, good evening everyone. Be honest, you didn't expect a video tonight, did you? I've literally just got back and I thought, you know what, let's just quickly get to the studio so we can reflect whilst it's still fresh on our mind, that magical, wonderful, masterful performance from Dmitry Bivol. And we'll just talk about some of the other fighters on the card and just my time in Abu Dhabi as well, which I thoroughly enjoyed, really did. I don't know if you guys have been to Dubai, but it's like Dubai, but just not as rowdy and busy. And for me, as I get into my older years, I prefer that than Dubai. So yeah, I enjoyed myself in Abu Dhabi. But look, we'll talk about that in a second. Don't forget as well, hit that subscribe button if you are new to the channel. Don't forget as well to like and share the vids. Remember, we are trying to get to 40,000 subscribers by the end of the year. I still have hope. It almost seems impossible, but nothing's impossible. So let's hope we can get that. All right, let's bring up the fight card actually, so we can talk about all of the fights on the main portion of the card. So I think Kel Yafai opened that, right? We'll talk about his performance. It's unfortunate that all the fights went long, and because of that, I wasn't on air a lot, which was a bit disappointing. Like, we had planned to do so much in between fights, like so many stand-ups, like get a lot of the guests involved, Cordina, Bawatsi, Andy Ruiz, Devin Haney, Povetkin, like all that was planned. But because the fights went so long, we couldn't do it. So we actually literally had to go from fight to fight. Like, we finished, I don't know what time it was over here in the UK, but over in Abu Dhabi, everything finished at like 3:15 in the morning, which is crazy, So yeah, we unfortunately couldn't get me on air a lot, but hey, it is what it is. All right, let's talk about Kel Yafai and that fight against, Kel Yafai, versus Gerald Pakler. Didn't know too much about Gerald Pakler. Obviously, Kel Yafai has been out the ring for nearly 3 years, and when he got dropped early, I was like, okay, well, that's that then. That's that. For him to, and look, but not only did he get dropped early, he got hurt a lot in those first 3 rounds. There was a knockdown as well. I think it was round 3 or 4, which the ref ruled as a slip. It was a knockdown. And that could have completely changed the result of the fight. I think it would have changed the result of the fight. But regardless, this isn't about that. I just want to give a massive amount of respect to Kel. Because when you're ringside and you can hear the thuds of these punches, for him to continue and just find that will to win, I mean, that's just guts, isn't it? That's all it is. It's not down to skill or anything like that. It's just down to, I'm not losing tonight. I'm not losing. And in the end, he gutted out a performance. And sometimes when you go the distance like that, you want to say, okay, you've banked those rounds, it's good, you've been out the ring for a long time. You don't want to bank that punishment. Like, it's good to get the rounds, but you don't want to take the punishment that Kel took. So yeah, I don't want to say back to the drawing board, but they're going to need to look at a few things, because trust me, Gerald Pakler was put in not as a soft touch, but it wasn't supposed to be like that. It wasn't. So look, well done to Kel, and hopefully, you know, this starts sort of another run for him, whether it's at bantamweight or whatever. But we'll see what happens with Kel. Galal struggled as well. A lot of people ringside thought that maybe Gohan Garcia could have nicked it. When I was watching it, I wasn't scoring it, but I was thinking, okay, Galal's doing enough to win. But then I haven't watched it back. A lot of people on Twitter were like, maybe Galal shouldn't have won that. So again, I'm going to watch it back. He struggled. He gets hit too much. He gets hit way too much. And that's something they're going to have to look at, because Garcia is not a puncher. But there are punchers at fly and super fly that if he gets tagged like that, they'll finish him. They will. They'll hurt him, or they'll potentially stop him. So they're going to need to look at his defense a lot. And I just wonder if it's because, you know, he's got a chin, and, you know, people that have a chin dine out on the fact that they can walk through you, right? I mean, we've seen fighters in the past do it, Froch, Golovkin, etc. You will get hurt. I mean, those two I just mentioned, eventually it caught up with them as well, so you will get hurt. So they're going to have to work on that, because he's so slick. You feel like defensively he should be a lot better, because he is quite slick, but he gets tagged a lot. I don't know. Chantel Cameron versus Jessica McCaskill. I thought this was going to be fight of the night. I was wrong, obviously. Fight of the night's coming up. Like, McCaskill's boxing style is bad, isn't it? It's bad. It's weird because it reminds me a bit of like the female fighters now. the levels are just going up and up and up so quick. We're seeing some really good technical female fighters, but sometimes you still have those fighters like a McCaskill, who's very, very tough. And let me give credit to her. She's undisputed at 147. She's very tough, but her style is just very crude and raw and basic, very much a bit like Mary McGee, where they want to overpower you. But if you've just got a bit of boxing ability and you can kind of, you know, step to the side and step back and double pivot and all that, then they struggle. And she was struggling. It's her will that kept her in the fight. It's her strength and her determination that made it quite interesting the last sort of 2 or 3 rounds. But yeah, I think Chantel after spoke about wanting to go to 147 and take her belts. Remember, again, Jess is undisputed at 147. She can certainly do that. It'd be an interesting fight at 147 because, again, Jess's strength sort of shone through in the last 3 or 4 rounds, and you do wonder if that extra bit of strength might help her at 147. Although Chantel's a big girl as well, and she would prefer not to cut that weight to 140. So look, she's got options. We'll do another video and talk about who can fight later, but this is more about Bivol. Let's quickly get to what was my fight of the night: Shavkat Rakhimov versus Zelfa Barrett. Now, speaking to a lot of people there, Barry Jones, you know, boxing people, they all thought this was going to be a tough night for Rakhimov. So did I, right? Like, the levels that Zelfa was stepping up to were quite deep. He was going into deep water, especially with a 5-6 week fight camp. This kind of fight against this guy with this kind of engine, and I'm talking about Rakhimov here, you want at least an 8-week fight camp for someone like that. But it is, you know what, you get the call up, you don't turn down a world title fight in Abu Dhabi. Money's going to be good. You just don't turn down the opportunity. He started so fast, Zelfa. You know, it's weird. I don't know if he started so fast or Rakhimov forced him to start that fast. Because I was watching it thinking, all right, Zelfa maybe needs to kind of slow down a bit, because this pace, he's not keeping this pace for 12 rounds. No one is. And I know Zelfa's fit and he prides himself in his fitness, but that kind of pace is difficult. When a guy's forcing his will, there's one thing if you're setting your own pace. When someone's making you fight at a pace that you don't really want to fight at, there's not much you can do. The only thing you can really do, and Zelfa done it a few times, is dent them. But then this Rakhimov just kept on coming forward. Like, Zelfa hurt him 3 or 4 times. Like, he landed big uppercuts and big left hooks and straight rights, and he ate them and kept on coming forward. And again, that's demoralizing. Because, and this is the difference, right, between sort of British and European and Commonwealth to world level. Zelfa, the punches that Zelfa landed on Rakhimov, at British and European level, people are literally fighting on the back foot or he's knocking them out. At world level, they just keep on coming forward, or at least Rakhimov does anyway. But credit to Zelfa. I mean, Zelfa showed that he belongs there. He really does. Because that was a very, very entertaining fight for at least, I'd say, the first 5 or 6 rounds. After that, it felt like it was inevitable. It felt like, okay, like Zelfa can't hurt this guy. He's trying to. He's landed really big shots and the guy's ate them. It's inevitable. And look, fingers crossed we get the Rakhimov-Joe Cordina fight. Joe Cordina's ringside and he wants it. You know, showing me his injury on his hand. And he's obviously had surgery on it, but he wants that fight. Joe Cordina's a better boxer than Zelfa. So I think Joe Cordina will set more traps for Rakhimov. I don't know who hits the hardest. I know people will say Joe now because of Joe's recent work, and maybe Joe does, right? And I think if Joe gets Rakhimov hurt the way Zelfa had him hurt, I think Joe could get Rakhimov out there. But look, it's a fantastic fight. And now that Shakur Stevenson's gone from that division, it's a fight to see who is the #1 in the division. I'm not just saying between Rakhimov and Joe. I'm talking about there's a few others involved in that as well. But it's a division that is now wide open. All right, let's talk about the main man, Dmitry Bivol. I love him. Honestly, I'm a huge fan of Dmitry Bivol. And I have to admit, I'm late to the party. I'm not going to pretend I've been a fan since the Craig Richards fight or the Joe Smith fight. I haven't. I put my hand up. I became a fan just being around him for the Canelo fight. Just being around him and just how he treats people. I know that sounds so dumb, but you know, when you just watch boxers and how they interact with people. I've seen boxers be wankers. I've seen it. When you see a boxer who's a world champion, just say hello to everyone and give everyone time. I like that. So I kind of just kind of grew to him, warmed to him because of that. In this fight, again, I got my time with him, which is really good, spoke with him, and he just seemed so confident, like almost bordering on arrogance. I was like, geez. I mean, I know Gilberto Ramirez's resume is thin, but the fact is he's 44-0. I mean, why are you so confident? And his answer was, I've been doing this since I was 6. He almost looked at me like, duh, I've been doing it since I was 6. And it's true though, isn't it? If you've been doing something since you were a kid, it must be like so, like, I don't know what the word is, where you almost just know you've got it. You've been doing it since you were 6. You know you've got it. And look, most of these top level boxers have been doing it since they were young, but maybe not that young. So Dmitry Bivol knows what he's doing. I think, and watching him sort of really close, and I was really concentrating on watching him this time, as opposed to the Canelo fight where I was a bit further away. And the atmosphere just got to me, if I'm honest with you. But watching him against Gilberto, I was watching him thinking, he's incredible. He's incredible. This guy, you know what? I asked him, sorry, I'm going all over the place with this. So I done a little piece for The Zone where I said, okay, I want you to build your best fighter. So, you know, who's got the best jab, who's got the best this, best that. And I asked him, who do you think has the best IQ and like brain? I thought you might say, I don't know, a Floyd or something. He says, me. That's what he said. He said, my brain. This guy knows he's got a boxing brain. He's thinking. He's almost got a poker face when he plays. He doesn't react to anything. Gilberto Ramirez had him on the ropes, which is where Gilberto told me he wants him. Tried to unload. The way in which he just threw and moved, and then he's behind, and Gilberto's a bit like, where are you? He's phenomenal. He's back foot, the way in which he just steps out of range, and then he's 4, 5, 6, 7 punch combinations. He knows how to turn it up when he wants to, knows how to have a little rest. He hasn't got crazy punch power, but he's got respectable punch power where you know if you come in, and Gilberto felt it round 2. So whereas Gilberto got him in positions where he could have maybe caused some problems, he knew that if I come in, I'm going to get hurt here. So he is a complete boxer. And I don't say that about a lot of boxers. In fact, I don't say that about many, but he's complete. He's got everything. He's got everything. Defensively, he's phenomenal. His punch output is good. His combinations are good. His feet are incredible. He almost glides. You know who was a bit like him? And he's better than this boxer. But I remember watching Lucien Boutte early. If you can, just go and watch a tape of Lucien Boutte. Look, Lucien Boutte wasn't the greatest fighter, obviously, but Lucien Boutte used to glide around the ring. Bivol does that. Just glides. It's not forced. It's not rushed. It's easy work. He's been doing it since he was 6. That's all that I thought about when he said that to me, and I was watching him. I was thinking, he's been doing this since he was 6. A bit like Loma when Loma's dad, took him early and started dance classes. And they're not forcing it. They're not thinking. He's a genius. He's so good. He's so good. He could be the best fighter on the planet. I'm not even exaggerating. He could be. I'm not saying he is. Before everyone shoots me down, I'm saying he could be. He's certainly in the pound for pound top 6 or 7. He's my fighter of the year now. 2 good wins. Canelo and Gilberto Ramirez, solid wins. Went into Canelo fight as an underdog. Big occasion, pressure. This one, again, another big fight against an unbeaten fighter, a bigger, stronger fighter, a southpaw fight of the year. I was thinking about others. Jesse Bam Rodriguez definitely deserves a shout. But for me, those 2 wins put Bivol's fight of the year. And then now, it's a case of what next for him. He's got so many great options. Joshua Buatsi was ringside. He could do that. He could, you know what? I'll do that whilst I wait to see what happens with Canelo and that wrist surgery. If the wrist surgery goes well and Canelo can fight in May and Eddie thinks he can, then you know what I'll do? I'll say, fuck it. Let's take your belts at 168. Let's go. It might be difficult for me to get there, especially if Canelo tries to put in some rehydration clause, which he probably might, right? But if it's a case of it's all fair and it's all game, and he goes down to 168, I would favor him to beat Canelo at 168. And then he could be really special, because then the fight after that is beterbiev. And that's undisputed at 175. I'm thinking a lot here, people. But he honestly could have a fight in May against Canelo, because remember, beterbiev's got yard work, and that's in February, right? So he's not gonna wait around for beterbiev now. So he could have that fight against Canelo in May, undisputed 168. I know this all sounds a lot, but it's very much possible. You have a 168 fight against Canelo in May, and then in September, you have an undisputed fight against beterbiev at 175. Dmitry Bivol, I don't know. I don't even know if it's possible. But Dmitry Bivol could, and that's the key word here, could become undisputed in 2 weight classes in 10 months. That could happen. He could literally, after the beterbiev fight, have like 10 belts on him. I know look, I make him favorite. By the way, I make him favorite to beat Canelo. The beterbiev fight is a 50-50 fight. It's a 50. Now I've seen him and look, beterbiev's stronger than Gilberto Ramirez, and you know, beterbiev goes for the kill. But I've seen him in there against a big 175 guy now, and he has no fear about that. He has no fear to stand in the pocket and trade. He has no fear, because he's so trust in his boxing ability, because he's been doing it since he was 6. He could become undisputed in 2 weight classes at the same time, and then the discussion about Bivol completely changes. But he's almost a star that's come from nowhere. Do you know what I mean? I never expected to think of Bivol as a star. Bivol is a star now. I like him. Honestly, I like him a lot. He's now become my favorite fighter. He's become my favorite fighter. Quick question, Mario Lopez. I don't know if you guys saw his tweet. Said, what did he say? He said, I would rather see Bivol beterbiev than Spence Crawford. Now, Spence Crawford's always been my #1 fight I want to see. And I don't know if he's saying that because, like everyone, he's frustrated it isn't happening. But what is the more intriguing fight, or the fight that has you more interested and invested? Is it Spence Crawford? Is it Bivol beterbiev? Very close, isn't it? Very close. Like, Bivol beterbiev is such an intriguing fight. So is Spence Crawford, but don't know. I don't know. You know what? Yeah, I genuinely believe. You know what I just said about him becoming undisputed in 2 weight? I think he can do it. I think he can do it. And then the discussion isn't a case of best of this era. That's locked. If he does that, that's locked. There's bigger discussions. For you to become undisputed in 2 weight classes, having beaten 2 killers to do it, fuck. Boy. All right, anyway, guys, girls, short video. Peace and love. Oh, should I quickly say about my time in Abu Dhabi? Did I say that already? Again, look, really, really enjoyed it. You know what I like about when Matchroom do these kind of events away from the UK, and they need to kind of maybe think about doing it in the UK, especially in the summer. It's more of they put on things, like there's like parties, you know, you like the weigh-in, where the weigh-in was on the beach was insane. It feels like it's more of a 4 or 5 day event, which is what I think boxing, like when you think of boxing, is just one night in it. It's just one night, right? So is it right? Saturday night or whatever, or Friday night. That's it. Boxing, I think, for it to kind of just continue to grow, maybe it needs to be more than that. Maybe you do just do these events. And it was really good having these events, because then, again, all the superstars were there, and they had a lot of influences there as well. And it was drink, and it was food. And it feels a bit more like you're leading up to something special, as opposed to just your Saturday night. I think maybe there's something in that. Again, in the summer, especially if Matchroom do those fights at sort of Matchroom HQ, maybe you do something like that as opposed to just the event. But yeah, I think, again, I'm not even sure what's going on with my schedule, but I think I'm flying out Thursday. So I'm only here for a few days for the Mayweather event. So we're going to get ready for that. And then America for something as well. But look, guys, girls, we're definitely going now. Peace.